This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Hello and welcome to War Horses, the only college equestrian podcast that is excited about how this fall season went. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Let's talk about some college equestrian. Well, we're going to get into our final week of the fall action with some meet recaps. Our first meet to look at, Bridgewater at Swanee. This is a single discipline meet. Last week, the predicted score was going to be Swanee 7 to Bridgewater's 3. Let's see what really happened. So everything started off in fences. Swanee won that 3-2, and then Bridgewater just dominated the flat 4-1. Put all that together, that made the final score Bridgewater 6, Swanee 3. So this was a reversal of what was predicted. The home team lost, so Bridgewater had a great day on the road. That's a really good win for Bridgewater. That is one of the biggest wins they've had in program history. To go on the road and beat a good team like Swanee, that's impressive, Bridgewater. Good job. All right, so we're going to stick with Bridgewater. They went to Barry. The prediction was Bridgewater 6 to Barry's 4. Let's see what really happened. Bridgewater took a 3-1 lead in fences, and then Barry came back. They won the flat 4-1. That made the final score Barry 5, Bridgewater 4. So here we see, the stats thought Bridgewater was going to win. They did not. The home team won, but the home team tends to win. So, yeah, good job, Barry. You won at home when we saw Swanee didn't do that. So, wow. Yeah, some interesting results here right out of the gate. Okay, we're going to move right along. Georgia at Auburn. The prediction said that Auburn would win 13-7 over Georgia. Let's see what really happened. So the day started off with equitation on the flat. The stats thought that Georgia was going to win that about 3-2, maybe even 4-1. But Auburn stole a point. They got a couple of toss-ups, and they ended up winning the event 4-1. Now over in the Western Ring, the stats for reining suggested that Georgia was going to win that 3-2. But here again, Auburn stole a point. They flipped a result, and they got it to 3-2 in favor of the Tigers in that one. So instead of being behind at the half by about 4-6, which is what the stats kind of suggested it would be, instead of that, Auburn was up 7-3, and they still had their two best events remaining. So this was a huge blow to Georgia's chances. I said last week that you're going to know right off the bat with reining if Georgia was going to keep things close or not. Well, the answer was not. So over we go to the second half. Horsemanship got going before fences. I think there was some issue with the rain and the mud and the fences ring or something. But that event got off later than normal, so horsemanship got going. The stats thought that Auburn was going to win that 4-1, maybe even sweep it. Well, Georgia did better than expected. They won a toss-up point. They flipped a favored point their way, and they limited Auburn to just a 3-2 win in horsemanship, which is actually kind of a big deal because Auburn normally just destroys teams in horsemanship. So this is something you'll kind of want to watch out. When Auburn goes and visits Georgia in the spring, we'll see how horsemanship does because this was not a great. It was fine. They won 3-2. You can't complain about that. But at the same time, Auburn normally just kills teams in horsemanship. So the fact that Georgia could kind of stop that from happening on the road, my goodness, what's going to happen when Georgia gets home? So anyway, but that's in the spring. For right now, horsemanship won 3-2. And then finally we went back over to fences, and the stats favored Auburn to win 3-1. Well, actually, there was three of them favored to Auburn, one of them favored to Georgia, and one was a toss-up. But in the end, it went 4-1 for Auburn, and that made the final score Auburn 14, Georgia 6. So pretty close to the stats. Nice home win for Auburn. They held serve at home in the fall. They won all their home meets, and they are technically tied with Georgia in the SEC standings. But Georgia has that road win over Texas A&M, and that would break all ties. So if the season ended today, but Auburn does have an 8-point margin of victory here in this one. That's impressive. And if Auburn ends up tied with anybody in the regular season at the end of the season, then they will go to point margin and things like that. And so Auburn's building the biggest point margin of anybody right now. So Auburn's in a good place. It's just that Georgia, man, by stunning A&M at home like that time they did, that's really, they've almost guaranteed themselves to finish first in the SEC. So we'll see how it goes. If they slip up, then Auburn could finish first, but basically it's Georgia's position to lose. So anyway, For Georgia, they had a shot at beating Auburn at home. They're talented enough to do that sort of thing. But, when they underperformed on the flat there, it was obvious it wasn't going to happen. But still, Georgia could be the best team in the country when all is said and done. We'll just have to see how things go in the spring. All right, another meet to look at. Oklahoma State at Fresno State. The predictions, the stats thought that this was going to go Oklahoma State 14, Fresno State 6. Let's see what really happened. So in fences, Oklahoma State won that 3-2. On the flat, Fresno State won that 3-2. In horsemanship, Oklahoma State won that 3-2. And in reining, Fresno State won that 3-2. So that made the final score Oklahoma State 10, Fresno State 10. And when they went and looked at the tiebreaker, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but Oklahoma State won that. So big road win for the Cowgirls. This is something that they have been missing in their schedule was one, they just hadn't ridden a lot until this weekend. But to do this on the road against a conference rival and a pretty good Fresno State team, okay, Oklahoma State's one of the top teams. You can't deny it. Now, the next day, Oklahoma State went down the road a piece and rode against UC Davis. Now, UC Davis ain't no slouch either. The predicted score in that one was UC Davis 12 to Oklahoma State's 8. So the stats actually liked how Davis would do against Oklahoma State. The stats thought they matched up better. Well, let's see what really happened. In fences, Oklahoma State won that 3-2. On the flat, UC Davis won that 3-2. In horsemanship, Oklahoma State won 4-1. And in reining, Oklahoma State won that 5-0. So that made the final score Oklahoma State 14, UC Davis 6. So this was a complete reversal. The stats did not see this coming, and what started out as a good weekend for Oklahoma State turned into a great weekend for the Cowgirls. And, for the last couple of weeks, I've been kind of dogging them a little bit, saying, it really would be nice if we had more meets to look at. They gave us some more meets, and this is a lot to look at. So, this was very impressive. Good job, Oklahoma State. Now, UC Davis, oh boy, you're kind of in Fresno State's boat here, only maybe a little worse off because, you didn't do as good as they did. They lost in a tiebreaker. You kind of got it handed to you. But still, UC Davis, you're doing well in your conference. It's just that this really does deal another blow to your chances of getting to Ocala at the end of the year, or the end of the season rather. And you know what? I'm not going to talk about that right now. We still got time. Who knows what's going to happen? Although I know what's going to happen. All right, next meet, South Dakota State at Minnesota Crookston. I was very excited about this one because the stats suggested that this was going to be a South Dakota State win 12-8, but that's a pretty close margin there. And with it being at home at Minnesota Crookston, there's always a chance that the home team's going to do even better than you expect. Let's see what happened. Oh, and I'll just say that with Minnesota Crookston, they've been getting every better every year here, and so this was probably their best chance to get their first program win in their NCEA program history. And so if things broke right, flipping a few rides their way, they could do that. So let's see what happened. In fences, Minnesota Crookston won that 3-2. Okay, they're off to a great start. On the flat, Minnesota Crookston won that 3-2. Great, look at this. In the jumping seat, they're doing awesome. In horsemanship, South Dakota State won that 3-2. And in reining, South Dakota State swept that 5-0. So that made the final score South Dakota State 12, Minnesota Crookston 8. So here the stats were correct, at least about the overall margin. And that reining sweep is really what bailed the Jackrabbits out. If that had not gone so heavily in their favor, then the Golden Eagles might have won this. But again, we'll have to wait till another time. But still, they hosted a meet at home. I don't think they've done too many of these in their history. So this was really cool. I think it was senior day for them as well, because I don't think they're going to be hosting any in the spring. So good job to them for putting on a great show and for improving and doing basically performing as the stats thought they would. So everybody performed about like we expected, which for them is good because they are getting better, which is really nice to see. So. Then we have one more meet to look at, Berry at Swanee. Now, the stats thought that Swanee was going to win this 8-2, and let's see what really happened. Swanee won fences 4-1, and then Swanee won flat 4-1. So that made the final score Swanee 8, Berry 2. So we had some really interesting results with these single discipline teams. They all Team A beat Team B beat Team C, and Team C beat Team A. However, when you look at what Bridgewater did, how they won one of their road meets, that's really darn impressive. So yeah, I mean, man. Good job to Bridgewater. Good job to all of them. I mean, Swanee, you bounced back, you won, you beat Barry. That's great. But Barry, you were on the road, so the odds were stacked against you anyway. And you did have that home win against Bridgewater the previous day. So yeah, good day, good weekend for everybody there. All right, so those were the recaps. Now let's see what impact they have on the official Auburn Elvis College Equestrian rankings. Now, first, we're going to do the dual discipline rankings. And yeah, so no surprise here. The number one team in the nation is Auburn. With winning at home over number 2 Georgia, Auburn is going to stay at number 1 all throughout the winter break now. Auburn finishes the fall 5-1. Winning at home, they won over Baylor, South Carolina, and Georgia. They did lose at Texas A&M, but they won at SMU and TCU. So very impressive resume. And the number 2 team is Georgia. So I have the Bulldogs staying at number 2. Some people might say, well, maybe you should move them down below Oklahoma, other teams. It's like, no, come on now. Losing at Auburn, everybody we expect to do that. So no, I ain't going to penalize the Dogs for doing that. So they're going to go into the break 5-2. They were a perfect 3-0 at home. They had wins over Baylor, South Carolina, and UC Davis. They have road losses at TCU and at Auburn. They have a road win at Texas A&M and Delaware State. So good resume, not quite as good as Auburn's, but still real dang good. So Georgia is going to stay number 2. The number 3 team is Oklahoma State. So the Cowgirls charge up the rankings here. They closed out the fall with just a great road trip out west. They got a pair of wins that just are really going to improve their resume. I mean, they have the number 3 resume now. They're 4-1. They beat SMU and Baylor at home. They lost to TCU on the road, but they beat Fresno State and UC Davis on the road. So, some people will be tempted to put them ahead of Georgia. Please don't do that. That would be dumb. Oklahoma State's schedule has not been quite as good as Georgia's, so every loss that Georgia has, Oklahoma State would probably have it as well. So don't go crazy. I mean, they had a great weekend, but come on. Anyway, they're number 3 right now, and number 3 is fine. That is fine. So, and it puts them in the same realm as Auburn and Georgia, sort of, but it's just they're number 3. Okay, just live with it. Number 4 is South Carolina. So the Gamecocks do slide down. They were idle, but their overall record here now is 5-2. They've been a perfect 2-0 at home. They beat SMU and Texas A&M at home. They picked up losses on the road at Georgia and at Auburn. They have a road win over UT Martin, and they have some neutral site wins over UC Davis and South Dakota State. Now, there's still a chance that South Carolina is as good or better than the teams above them, okay? Their schedule has been a little weaker, so we don't have as many flashy wins for them because they haven't had the opportunity necessarily. But still, they perform just about as well as anybody else would have against this schedule. So we're going to keep an eye on them, but they're number 4 right now. So all of those teams are perfect at home, okay? And like I've been telling you for a while now, the best teams just don't lose at home, okay? So here is the next group of teams. They have lost at home, so each of these has some issues that they're going to want to correct. Number 5 is Texas A&M. The Aggies are 3-3 overall. They're 2-1 at home with wins over Auburn and Fresno State and a home loss to Georgia. They are 1-2 on the road with losses at South Carolina and at SMU, but they have a road win at UC Davis. The Aggies' home loss to Georgia is just going to be an albatross around their necks until they get some major road wins in the spring. Number 6 is SMU. The Mustangs finished the fall 2-3 overall and 1-1 at home. They beat Texas A&M at home, but they lost to Auburn at home. They're 1-2 on the road with a win over Baylor and losses to South Carolina and Oklahoma State. Even with these 3 losses, the Mustangs look to be a strong team, and they should at least even out their record by the end of the season because they've got some of these good teams coming to their place, so I think they're going to even things out. Number 7 is TCU. The Horned Frogs are 3-3 right now, having gone 3-1 at home and 0-2 on the road. They defeated Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Georgia at home. They lost to Auburn at home, and they lost to UC Davis and Fresno State on the road. TCU is another good team, but the spring schedule gets a little tougher for them, so they might slip below 500 unless they learn how to win on the road. Now, the number 8 team is Fresno State. The Bulldogs had a great chance to stay perfect at home, which would have launched them up into that group of top teams, but they surrendered that tiebreaker to Oklahoma State, and that is a blemish on an otherwise really good fall season for them. They went 2-3 overall, 2-1 at home, and 0-2 on the road. They defeated South Dakota State and TCU at home, but they lost to Oklahoma State, like we just mentioned. They've also lost at Baylor and at Texas A&M. The Bulldogs have a little bit easier schedule in the spring, so they could get above 500 overall, but they really need to ride better away from Fresno. Number 9 is Baylor. The Bears move up a spot, even though they didn't ride this week. They had a rough fall with a 1-5 record, but some of that was just due to the strength of their schedule. They beat Fresno State at home, but they lost to SMU at home. They also lost on the road to Georgia, Auburn, TCU, and Oklahoma State. And our number 10 team is UC Davis. The Aggies are 4-4 overall with home wins over South Dakota State and TCU, but home losses to Texas A&M and Oklahoma State. They are also 1-1 on the road with a win over Delaware State and a loss at Georgia. Their neutral site record is also 1-1 with a win over UT Martin and a loss to South Carolina. Now, the Aggies are easily the class of the ECAC right now, but their hopes of returning to Ocala took a huge blow this weekend. Like we talked about, they picked up that second home loss. If they could have held serve, then they'd be in contention, but as things look right now, it's going to take a major collapse by at least 2 teams above them in order for the Aggies to climb back up into the top 8. Okay, over we go to the single discipline rankings. We had some meets and some interesting results. Let's see the impact they had. Number 1 is Lynchburg. All right, they had the best fall. They're undefeated. Ain't nobody looked as good as Lynchburg, so they're number 1. Number 2 is Dartmouth. Now, they've also gone undefeated, but they haven't ridden as much, and they didn't look quite as impressive, so they're number 2. Number 3 is Sacred Heart. They got that one loss on the road, but otherwise they're looking good. So, in fact, they're having their best season ever. So, Sacred Heart's number 3. Number 4 is Sweetbriar. Now, the Vixens have taken a step back this year. They've won all their home meets, but they've lost some meets on the road that you would normally see them win. So, yeah, I mean, they're coming back down to earth. They used to be just stellar. Now they're as good as anybody. Number 5 is Bridgewater. Okay, the Eagles, this is like the highest they've been ranked in like forever. So good job to them. They had a great weekend, and they bounce up to number 5. And that means number 6 is College of Charleston. So with the Bridgewater doing well, then I got to move somebody down, and that's you this week, College of Charleston. So the Cougars are going to slide down. Yeah, they're having a good season too. They're as good. Right now, they're about as good as Bridgewater or Sweetbriar or maybe even Sacred Heart. It's just their schedule hasn't been as kind, and so they land at number 6. Number 7 is Berry. Now, the Vikings had a pretty good weekend, so yeah, I'm going to slide them above Swanee, who did not have as good of a weekend. Number 8 is Swanee. So the Tigers, they won some, they lost some, and yeah, they lost at home, and oh well. But not the best season so far for Swanee. They've got a chance to turn things around in the spring, but for right now, they're just, this isn't their best season. So there you go. And number 9 is Centenary.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
Every week I tell you about how proud I am of Centenary for just being fearless and riding against everybody. And yeah, that still holds true. It's just they don't have a win yet, so they are in last place right now. Well, normally I would talk about final thoughts and all that kind of good stuff. You know what? Let's take a look back into the past and just see where I rank teams in the preseason and where they are right now. Okay, so first off, we're going to go back to the dual discipline teams. And yeah, so in my preseason, I had Auburn ranked number 1. Okay, they lost some talent, but they had a really high average point production for their average starters. So to me, Auburn was the best bet to be number 1, and here we are in week 9, and Auburn is still number 1. They dipped down a little bit, but now they're back up to number 1. The number 2 team in my preseason rankings was Georgia. And here again, we see Georgia. They are number 2 in week 9. They spent some time up at number 1. They dropped down to, in week 3, they dropped down to number 3, but they've basically been either 2 or 1 this whole fall. The number 3 team in my preseason rankings was Texas A&M. Now, the Aggies, so they kind of went up to number 2 for a little bit, but then they fell back down to about 4, and right now they've ended up at number 5. So the Aggies are underperforming. Some of that could be their schedule, but frankly, a lot of it was that loss to Georgia. If they just hadn't had that home loss to Georgia, they might be up at number 3. So there's your difference right there. Okay, so the team I had at number 4 in the preseason is SMU. Now, where is SMU right now? Well, SMU is back down at number 6, and actually they've kind of elevated up to number 6 because they were down pretty darn low. And a lot of this is their schedule, just having so many games on the road. But they did lose at home to Auburn, and that did not help. So there you go, right there. If they had not lost at home to Auburn, they probably would be about number 4. So again, if you're going to lose at home, that's going to hurt you. All right, next team to look at. In the preseason, I had Fresno State at number 5. This one, they had a really good strength of the average returning starter, and they got a lot of returners, but I guess they're kind of doing it by committees, at least numbers-wise, which means some of their number 3, number 4, number 5 riders in these events, they're not as good as some of the other starters, and so they look good statistically when you combine them with everybody, but when they actually go one-on-one, a lot of them end up losing their points, and that ends up losing the meet, and so Fresno State right now in my rankings is number 8. So they're really below where the preseason had them ranked. The next team to look at, Oklahoma State. I had them at number 6 in the preseason ranking, and look at them. They are up to number 3 now. Okay, so they were around 6. They hung around 6 and 5 for most of the fall, but then they've come on strong here, particularly with those road victories out in California. So yeah, look at them. They're at number 3. Good job, Cowgirls. The number 7 team in my preseason rankings was UC Davis. So yeah, okay, the Aggies have dropped off as well. Again, you lose at home and you're gonna drop, and they're down at number 10 in the current rankings. So they've lost a couple of spots. The number 8 team in my preseason is South Carolina. So here we go. This is one where the stats was not very correct. They looked like they were in the same boat as Fresno State. They return a lot of starters, but then their 3rd, 4th, 5th riders don't win a lot. And unlike where Fresno State, where those riders are losing when they get into the head-to-head situations, South Carolina is winning a lot of those. So they are now currently ranked, what are they, number 4? Yeah, so they've improved 4 spots since the preseason. So good job, Gamecocks. Next team to take a look at, TCU. I had you at number 9 in the preseason rankings, and you are currently number 7. So yeah, so there you go. You've lost at home to Auburn. But other than that, you're looking pretty good. But a lot of this is the fact that you lost so much darn talent in the offseason. The stats did not like that, and so you got punished in the preseason rankings. But yeah, right now you're doing all right. You're at number 7. There you go. Okay, next team, Baylor. I had y'all at number, where did I have you? At number 10 in the preseason. And where are you right now? You are at number 9. So yeah, you've gone up a little bit. Okay. so there you go. A lot of y'all are down on Baylor. I don't understand why. I mean, some of it's their darn schedule is tough, but they're actually overperforming from where they started out in the preseason. So I would say keep an eye on Baylor. I think things are going to get a little bit better for them in the spring. So we'll see. The number 11 team in the preseason was UT Martin. Currently, they are unranked. They're about 11 or 12, so they're performing about what the stats suggested. Number 12 team is Delaware State. They're in that same boat. You know, they're maybe a little bit ahead of UT Martin one week or a little bit behind them, but they're basically in that same category. And then the 13th team in the preseason, South Dakota State. They're probably about 13 right now. There was a time when they jumped up. They peaked up, week 2. They popped their head up at ranking number 10, but now they're not ranked. So, and then number 14 in the preseason, number 14 right now, Minnesota Crookston. Again, we're not going to be too hard on them. They're still a young program, and they're improving every week, just about every week. And so, eventually they're gonna have a breakthrough. That's how everybody did in the fall. Some teams did better, some teams did worse, and about a third of y'all did exactly what we figured. So there you go. For the single discipline, let's see how things went. Sweetbriar was our darling of the preseason, and look at them. They are down to number 4 right now. So, Lynchburg was number 2 in the preseason. They're number 1. College of Charleston was number 3 in the preseason. They have slipped way down to, number 6? Yeah, you got some work to do there, Cougars. Dartmouth, y'all started out at number 4. Now you're number 2. So, good job to the green. Bridgewater, you started out at number 5. You're still at number 5. Good job, Bridgewater. Sacred Heart. Okay, now this is a success story here. They started out at number 6 in the preseason, and look at them. They are number 3. They're the Oklahoma State of single discipline teams. All right, good job, Sacred Heart. Swanee, you started out at number 7. You're currently number 8, so based on the returning talent, that's kind of where you are. Barry, you started out at number 8, and now you're number 7. So you and Swanee, y'all are kind of the same there. Centenary, you were in 9th place in the preseason. You're currently sitting 9th as well. You just ain't won none. And then if you don't win, it's really hard to move up the rankings. So, but you know what? If you hosted some meets, I bet you might win, because y'all are certainly getting some darn experience. So anyway, that's how everybody has done in the fall. So good job to everybody. Yeah, this has been a fun fall. I hope y'all have had fun. I've certainly had fun covering it, and I'm looking forward to the spring when we get back from the winter break. Well, that is all for this episode. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening, and war horses.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.